So welcome everyone. I thought we'd start with a bit of an introduction, but along with a question about the areas of innovation and new frontiers in insurance that actually excite you. So Chris, starting with you first, because you bring a global perspective and also you've been an InsurTech founder very early on in 2014. What are the new frontiers in insurance that excite you?
Well, I guess we've got 40 minutes to cover a pretty big topic. Look, I mean, but by way of introduction, for those that don't know Cover Genius, we started 2014. It's a late-stage Series E InsurTech, very focused on embedded insurance. We set up the company before the word InsurTech existed, and definitely before embedded insurance existed as a category. And we like to think that we kind of created that category. You know, as always, there's always been someone that's been there doing it as well before us. But we were lucky enough to kind of come with, you know, big partners that wanted a better solution, that wanted better technology to be able to deliver their needs. And, you know, we answered the need, which is to be a global InsurTech for embedded insurance, with the ability to do any line of insurance for our partners in any country. And we set up in India 5 years ago, and as part of our kind of global and regional rollout, and we've had an established team here, and lots of success. You know, we found we sell into software companies, the likes of Booking.com, Ola, Flipkart are partners of ours, and many others. You know, we found the reception here to be really positive, very engaging, and kind of interested. And of course, in our time since I've been here, since Cover Genius has been here, we've seen the industry develop tremendously, and that, you know, in many positive ways, both through kind of, you know, innovative competitors and through bigger companies doing different things as well to kind of try and get into the embedded space. So it's been really interesting to see. And just personally, I stepped away from the company at the end of last year. I'm a board member and shareholder, and I focus on investments. And obviously, investing in India is a pretty tremendous time at the moment, given the digitisation and growth rates. And InsurTech in particular is an area of focus. Can I answer the big question about where it's going? So, look, I mean, obviously coming from having set up a successful unicorn in embedded in insurance, that is, to me, just completely untapped still. You know, we've come along, yeah, we've made some ground, created opportunities for partners that otherwise sold or distributed zero insurance. Or warranties as well, you know, given that that's kind of a separate regulator in a lot of countries, and assurance products as well. So, I mean, I just think that continues to be the growth area. There's lots of other things that wearing an investor hat are interesting. Claims for me is really interesting. They're done very traditionally in investment in software, and AI for detection will go a long way. I'm not seeing many interesting and novel approaches to that in any markets where we look at as investors, but you know, that's one area. But look, for me, embedded insurance is just an enormously untapped market. you're talking about somewhere north of 500 billion or something like that. You know, the Indian opportunities, you know, well north of 5 to 10 billion. You know, and companies are coming along to kind of penetrate that. So, you know, let's explore what others have to say. That's kind of my angle, you know, from an investor hat and from someone who's kind of seen the market here.
Yeah, great. And obviously talking about embedded, Kulin, you used to head embedded at ACCO, and now as a founder in the MSME space, working with gig platforms, where do you see embedded and the overall sort of what's next in insurance?
Hi, I'm Kulin. I'm the co-founder at Onsurity. Just to tell you a little bit about Onsurity and how we kind of got to that. Onsurity is an MSME-focused InsurTech company, Our flagship product continues to be our employee health benefits program, where we have combined healthcare, wellness, and insurance. One of the few platforms in India who provide it on a monthly subscription basis. And we have built a complete full stack approach when it comes to health at Onsurity, because we realize that the kind of companies that we work with, right, they don't have necessarily an HR, they don't have someone who takes care of their entire insurance program, right? And hence, they want a digital platform, and they want an experience which is the same as any corporate gets, right? So from that perspective, built complete full stack solution, right from distribution to healthcare, wellness, claims, and engagement is something that we've built. We work with about 8,000 odd organizations and have about 1.5 million users on the platform today. And I think this kind of comes in from the fact that when I was with Acco, right? We've launched products, and you know about it. We launched the 1 rupee insurance, and I'm sure that many of you have either taken it or you don't know that you have taken it, right? We've done stuff with Redbus, we've done stuff with Zomato, so on and so forth. And I think one of the most interesting learning was that insurance is the most boring product, right? You don't want it because you think you are immortal, right? Half of you guys out here don't have your own personal health insurance, right? And come on, we're talking to like
maybe this audience is a little bit more educated and insured than the other.
You'll be surprised.
Really, okay.
You'll be surprised. We know CXOs who feel that, oh, I've got my company insurance, I don't need one, right? And Srinidhi will possibly concur to that. The fact that half the people out here don't even have taken a life insurance right now, and they're like,
you guys are probably the
we
worst.
Can actually do a show of hand, right? Not a part of this, but people who have not taken life insurance, there's no shame in saying that, right? Like, wow, you have like a complete renewal market out here, right? So from an embedded perspective, what we've learned is that contextual insurance has to be contextual, but that is still very 2019, 20. I think what people are looking at is a much larger use case, right? And hence, if you look at the way the industry is moving, right? I need motor insurance because it is regulated. I cannot drive without it, right? But now the whole platform is changing, right? Like, for example, Credit Garage, right? A great way to kind of foray into motor insurance, right? And that's something similar that we kind of look at is that everyone out here, right, needs healthcare, wellness, right? And if you just go by the statistics of it, only 8% of the people in a group, right, go ahead and take claims insurance. And that's the reason why 50% of our out-of-pocket expenses are there, because people don't opt for health and wellness. And I think that's what we are trying to do today at Onsurity, is combine all of these things together, right, and give a great consumer experience, right, to our MSME customers, and ensure that we create a sustainable product for them. Yeah.
And obviously, if you're talking about health, we obviously have to talk about Plum. Abhishek, Poddar. So what are the disruptions that you see coming to health and insurance in general? And particularly as Plum, which is an insurtech competing in a place where there are already traditional brokers entrenched, and you're competing on tech, experience, product design, and so on. So what are your views on this topic?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having us here. Quick context on Plum. Plum is an organization that we started late 2019. It's been 5 years journey. What we are building is a stack where we can say it's the absolute best healthcare and insurance experience that you will get. And those are the two words that means the most, which is we are at the intersection of healthcare and insurance. And the reason we started Plum was why leaders, be it the founders, the people leaders, why do they take insurance for their employees? It's not that they woke up someday and said, hey, I want to buy insurance. They really care about their people. They want to make sure that their people have a good health, and health outcome is what they wanted. But coincidentally, what happened in the last 2-3 decades in India was that translated into a very transactional purchase of insurance through insurance brokers. We went to the drawing board, and for us, we went to the same core problem of, hey, can we actually help the people leaders give better health outcomes for their employees. And obviously, health insurance is a part of that, but it has to go beyond health insurance. It has to go into primary and preventive care. And what we are trying to build at Plum is combining all aspects of care, which is starting from the primary care into preventive, starting from preventive care, going into primary care. And then when something really bad happens is when you really need your health insurance. It's just a financial support that you need to take care of yourself. So for us, insurance is one leg that we are building. And I think the question that you were asking is, how do we compete in this market that has been dominated by very large insurance brokers? I think this market never had a great supply. I think this market has a problem where, from a demand side, be it the employees or the HRs, they always wanted a better product. We as individuals have moved to, 10 years ago, we would go out and do shopping. To 5 years ago, we would get Amazon delivery in 2 days, to now 10 minutes delivery. But that kind of experience never got delivered when it comes to insurance or healthcare. And so as an HR, as an employee, we always desired to have that kind of experience, but that was not getting delivered. And for us, it is about building that experience layer. I think that demand exists, that supply never existed, and we are building that great experience, which is a supply. So for us, actually, that has never been a challenge in terms of competing with the large insurance brokers or the large suppliers. I think it's up to us on, can we really say that, hey, is it the absolute best experience that, or the absolute best healthcare and insurance that your employees would get?
Wonderful. And Srinidhi, we've heard 3 InsurTech speak. So obviously, we'd like to have an insurer perspective, particularly live. And also from an insurer perspective, because you see a lot more B2B InsurTechs and innovations that cater to insurers. So what is your view on what's next in insurance?
Absolutely. Yeah, so Srinidhi Shama, I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Bandhanlife, which was till recently known as Aegon Life. Yeah, thank you. All right, yeah. So yeah, I am one of those non-insurance people who had to come without a baggage of insurance to solve insurance problems. So I did 2 analytics startups in the past. I'm kind of new to insurance world, right? So where we look at the opportunity and what excites us, right? So I like to look at India as a triangle, if you will, right? At the top of this triangle is where you and I exist, the so-called elite India, right? And the bottom of that pyramid is where people who come under the Pradhan Mantri Yojana and other government-sponsored schemes are there, right? In between this elite India and this government-sponsored folks is the so-called middle India, if you will, which is a very, very large number of people. Our estimate is about 450 million people in the middle of this triangle of the so-called middle India, right? Now, here is a set of interesting people who have a need for insurance and have and deserve insurance from the perspective of underwriting, but don't have the supply, right? And here is where the largest opportunity is, right? And as an insurer, we can't imagine the products the way we could imagine for the elite India. These are not the same products that cater to you and me, right? So penetrating into this middle India, this 450 million people, require a completely new way of designing products and telling a story to them. They won't buy the story that are told to you and me, right? They need a different story to be bought, right? That's one. So it requires a completely different way to imagine products. And secondly, the moment you go to middle India, now we are looking at a paradigm which is more of high volume, low ticket size kind of a paradigm, due to which you cannot distribute the way you are distributing to people who walk into HDFC Bank, right? It's a very different way to distribute and a very different way to underwrite. You can't have an army of underwriters sitting and looking at every single policy, right? And lastly, and most importantly, typically speaking, middle India is self-employed. They won't have the salary slip coming first of every month the way you and I get, due to which you have to figure out alternate data sources using which you can underwrite, again, without human intervention, without the underwriter looking at it, right? So can we imagine insurance in a way where underwriter is not a person but an algorithm, and distributed and the story told in a way the middle India can appreciate and can relate themselves to, right? That's where the biggest opportunity is. Of course, elite India is there, you and I are there, but this segment, I believe, is kind of quote unquote saturated, right? Doesn't mean that everybody in elite India is insured, but what it means is that the incremental cost of ensuring every additional person is a lot more than what the benefit will justify. So middle India is a big excitement opportunity for us.
Great to hear that. So we spoke about embedded insurance, we spoke about MSMEs, health, and now middle India. So if you were to take a sort of a different perspective and look at more from a value chain perspective of insurance, right? So insurance is about product design, delivery, distribution, underwriting, claims, experience, and so on. Which of these parts of the value chain do you see and what are the cool examples that you've seen in some of these parts of the value chain? So maybe starting with you, Kulin. What are your views on this?
Yeah, so from a value chain perspective, I think the philosophy that, at least at Onsurity, that we keep thinking about is that at a much macro level, right, insurance has always been a push product, right? The reason why it's not a pull product is because, one, that it's not like lending, right? Like where you require money today and hence you're going to go out of the way to apply to multiple banks, right? Insurance is something that they're not going to really claim about it, right? So hence you really don't want it. Second, there is a lot of challenges when it comes to procuring it, right? Like Abhishek said, right? Supply is sometimes a constraint because it's not personalized, it's not customized, right? And worst of it is, everyone out here, I'm sure at some point of time would have said, which insurance should I take? How was the claims experience, right? And okay, just out of curiosity, how many people have taken claim out here for any insurance, right? If someone can raise hands. Yeah, right. How many people were like really thrilled about this whole claims experience? Right? Oh wow, what an amazing experience I've had. Yeah, 1, 2, yeah, 3, right? 4, 5, like 5 people.
Insurers also in the
yeah,
so
no, of course.
I'm sure.
Yeah, right. But this is the reality, right? We are still downloading forms, right? We are still giving cancel check, right? Half of the people out here have not even been to the branches, right? Like leave alone a cancel check. And I think those are the things that we need to solve for when it comes to the value chain, right? So I think at Onsurity, two things that we are kind of solving for is the curation part of it, right? Our MSME clients are not like the regular, corporates where you have a very structured product or a structured requirement, right? 80% of our clients today are new to health, right? They are actually purchasing their, health benefits for the first ever time, right? And hence they really don't know what they are getting into, right? And hence we want to make that journey very simple, right? So one is obviously on the distribution and curation part of it, where someone can just go online, and the way you buy an OTT subscription, right? You can actually go onto an Onsurity and give details about your business. We do a lot of data extraction, right? Understand what kind of a company it is, right? And we are able to then kind of provide the right product, right, to these MSMEs, right? And this is completely self-purchase journey, right, without human intervention, right? And this is only possible because we've built our entire subscription model internally, right? So I think a lot of work has been done on that part of the value chain. And the other value chain that we are kind of really working on is the claims experience. Hopefully, many more hands would have gone up in the future years, because one of the things that we're doing on the claims side is that we work very closely with our insurance partners. We have created our own entire claim stack, right? And we've got two parts of the claim stack, and I'm not saying that we are a complete digital company, right? We also have doctors on our platform, right, who actually help you with the entire claims journey. But more importantly, I think the word that I'm going to use is fair experience. And the reason I'm using the word fair experience is because today employers are buying it for their employees, right? And they don't want any misuse to happen. And this is what we feel that's our fiduciary duty, right, to ensure that our claim stack, right, actually allows to understand on a rating basis, right, what claim is genuine, what claim is not genuine, right? And hence make sure that the people who really deserve a great experience should definitely be getting that, right? And where there is a misuse or a misrepresentation, right, we pull that data out and we ensure that, these claims are not passed, right, along with our insurance partner. And that is something that we are building, and obviously, needless to say that there are no forms, there is no cancel check. We are using today, things like penny drop, and we are using completely digital forms. And these are not just forms where you just kind of fill it online, but we take out printouts and give it out to our insurance partners. It's actually API integrated. And I think that's what makes the difference, because then you are able to actually track your claims on real time, on our dashboards, on our app, right? And I think this is the kind of change that we are thinking that this is what is going to drive, a push product to a pull product.
That's interesting, because Abhishek, you also spoke about experience being a huge differentiator. So your views on what on the disruptions in the value chain?
I think very similar to what Kulin mentioned. We look at, I think the one thing that you mentioned, Kulin, is these are push products. Most of the people are buying for the first time, which means that one of the biggest problem that happens in terms of experience is people don't understand their insurance. They've bought something, but they still don't understand what they have bought. And for us, obviously, when they're buying, when people are buying, when corporates are buying, we have to make sure that they understand what is covered, what is not covered as clearly as possible. It's our job to make it as simple as possible. But the challenge in our industry is the buyer is different from the user of the product. The user is the employee or the family member. And the user, the employee, had no clue about what the corporate had purchased for them. They would generally go to the hospital, and that is the first time they have interaction with the insurance as a product. And there are always surprises, there are always shocks that they have when they're at the hospital trying to use the insurance. And one of the things that we focus a lot on is you're probably going into the hospital maybe 2 years down the line from the time you actually got the insurance product. Can we actually use that time to educate you about what you have as a benefit? And in a very plain English that a 10-year-old should be able to understand. So we focus a lot on simplification and education to the employees, to their family members, so that they know the benefits that they have. They also know, second part is they should know how to use the insurance. A lot of times, if you actually do any survey at any corporate, a lot of people don't even know that they have insurance. They don't know what their insurance covers. So it's also about making them aware that they have a benefit that they can use. And the third part is what Kulin you mentioned, which is, let's say I'm aware about it, I know what is covered, what is not covered. How do I give you the best claims experience? So to give you an example, this is a journey when we started 5 years ago, reimbursement claims experience in the industry, and for us as well, it would take probably anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks. And it has been a lot of hard work. We have been able to get this. Now almost 90% of the claims are done in less than 5 days at Plum. And our North Star is how do we make a reimbursement claim happen in minutes, not in days, not in weeks, not in months, but in minutes. Similarly, for let's say you're going to a network hospital and you're trying to use your insurance at the network hospital. Even the best hospitals, reception desk, they have these large printouts that will say, hey, if you're trying to use insurance, expect a 4 to 6 hours kind of waiting for your insurance to get processed. And I think that is another area where we have pushed a lot along with our partners. There was one of my very close friends sitting from MediAssist who is a very close partner, but a lot of insurance companies as well, but working very closely with our partners to make sure that how do we make it as real time as possible. Now that 6 hours have come down to less than an hour, but the kind of vision that we see is you should be able to walk out. Like why should you wait even for an hour? If your doctor has said, hey, you're ready to go, your insurance company understands the kind of expenses that are incurred, you should not wait and just go back to your home and take rest. So that's the kind of experience that we obsess about. It's very similar to what Kulin mentioned, but giving you some examples of what we are trying to do on the ground.
I'd probably add to that, like simplicity of product is important. I see in India market that sometimes the distribution partner wants to kind of, create this omelette of products to throw in the mix. And, the thing is, especially in the embedded space, but actually in reality in most of insurance, all those things that go in the omelette, the person doesn't care about. What matters is the core product. And you've got to factor in what's the cost, the claims cost to actually process and adjust all of those sundry benefits that no one actually bought for, no one cares about, and actually take what should be a real-time process into a 1 hour process because you've got to determine what the transport charges are to the hospital or whatever. All those things just don't matter. And I kind of encourage, I'm always kind of speaking to partners and companies about just the need to simplify the whole thing. So, and unfortunately, like what I see, whether in India or all around the world, like people from the insurance industry think that there's value in all those additional things, and there's quite simply not. Sometimes the only value can be like, okay, well, if you're in a tariff rate set product, then you can add some of the dynamic pricing over to the value add service that you've bundled in. And bundling's great for those sort of things, and obviously great to be able to sell multiple genuine things. But bundling for the sake of bundling is kind of dangerous and impacts the claim side. So the value chain piece is like own the manufacturer, or at least have a tremendous amount of influence in it, and then provide all of those details at the time of sale through to whoever it is that's going to be processing the claim. Ideally it's yourselves.
Great. And Srinidhi, last to you, because you're a full stack manufacturer. So you see the entire value chain actually. What are your views on which part of the value chain do you see getting disrupted first?
Absolutely. So if when you walked into this Geo Center, if I stood in the entrance and say, sir, I'm a life insurance agent, I'm Srini, right? What's your first reaction? Right? You want to run away, right? Now, this is the impact that only insurance industry has created in human beings. No other industry has been able to do, right? So we have been very successful in doing that. Right? And so why is that the case, right? So yeah, it is a push product and it's a push industry. We push people away, right? So that's because mainly, so far as an industry, right, we have failed to tell you stories, interesting stories, right? And stories and product design go together. They are not two different things, right? So we've not been able to tell you stories that are, that you can relate to and that will stick with you, and hence you will, at least listen to the product, right? And that's the biggest problem. And as against a mutual fund industry, for example, where there has been fantastic story, very consistent, and every mutual fund AMC, sticks by that, right? So we have been, so far not successful in doing that, and that's where the biggest opportunity is, right? So can we really understand the customer and the customer segment, right? And being able to tell story and hence design products, right? That actually solve the life problem, and it's visible to you that we are solving this particular life problem to you, right? And that's where the biggest opportunity is, because we are talking about an economy which has like 3.5% or 3.6%, penetration of insurance, if you will, right? So that will open up the top of the funnel for us, which in turn will create all the effect down cycle.
Great. So claims, experience, stories, and design, delivery, packaging, those are the parts of the value chain that should see a lot of change now. I want to move on to sort of the real live examples or the cool examples of actual innovative insurtech that you see in the world today. Particularly because we've got a lot of fintechs, digital platforms, and banks here. So Chris, you obviously have the biggest wealth of experience in ideas and so on. So your views on what are the cool examples that
Yeah, thanks, Pranshu. We've worked together for many years in your former role as well, and I'd probably call out like some of the things that get done here, at least from the embedded insurance perspective, are like world firsts and should be celebrated and acknowledged. We worked on Ola together, a couple of products there. We did some interesting collabs in Australia when Ola was in Australia as well. Insuring your drivers is a smart way forward, both to control your cost, but also to control that side of the marketplace, but also you can make a buck out of that, right? So, but also knowing if your drivers are insured on others, on your competitors, then you can find that out by being the policy issuer, and you can find out 365 in monitoring of the verification monitoring as well is really interesting area. I still think there's really cool things that are yet to be done. No one's really done the policy verification into a sale, into a ongoing monitoring thing. Not really at the scale, and that's a huge opportunity. So if you look, I'm sure there's some early stage insurtechs here doing it, but in the US you've got these companies that are doing that, but they're not doing the insurance distribution side. So they kind of, they're all kind of hit this little ceiling where they're providing a service, and maybe they invest in some AI to do it, but monitoring something once is not really effective. What is effective is monitoring 365 and being the issuer of that policy. That's much more interesting, So there's lots of areas, but I would call out like some of the things I've seen done here. Paytm as well has done some really interesting things over a long period. But there's also some things which are really underdone. And you don't have to look very far in this market at some of the some of the ways that things are being done here to see, that could be done a lot better. I'll call out, Amazon. We work with, Cover Genius works with Amazon in Europe, and it's kind of like one partner for as the insurtech, embedded insurtech for the product that's being sold or warranties attached, right? But here it's the marketplace that there's four providers. I know from all the testing and analytics we've done that you'll make a much better experience for your customers, and a better bottom line outcome for yourselves if you just offer one. Offer one product, make it relevant, make it tied to the thing, and don't make people think. You put four offers there, you're making people think, and so that impacts your core conversion rate as well. So sometimes the execution really leaves a lot to be desired. And another example is Tesla. Yeah, everyone's kind of familiar with the US embedded insurance of Tesla. So, when it's embedded, done properly in most of the states of US, it's like 70-80% attach rate. But then, they roll it out to other countries and they're like, I can't get it on the roadmap. And so they do a link out model and it's like sub 5% attach rate, right? So when I talk about embedded insurance and that, plus $500 billion addressable market, when you think about all of these things and stack them up, I do think so much of it comes down to how things are done from a clever product perspective, utilizing knowledge and just kind of good product management. You actually get to tap that, and then you apply that across all the sectors where the opportunities are. And where really, at the moment, there's probably, I don't know, maybe it's 15 or 20, 15 max of all the embedded opportunities being tapped, and there's huge things that aren't even really being envisaged by those software companies that could be taking so much market share. But yeah, I think the next 10 years is going to be really interesting to see that big growing impact, and it does, speaks to, your vision for Middle India also getting insured. It's about finding them within the digital context of their daily lives and putting the right offer at the right time.
That's interesting you mentioned Tesla, because Ola Electric, by the way, had 99.99% attachment.
Yeah, I remember.
But yeah, moving on to you, Srini, your views on this, especially given I keep coming to the fact that you're an insurer, you're the only insurer in the panel.
Yeah, absolutely. So are there any particular things that you're looking for in the?
No, so we're looking at live examples that you've seen, and particularly in the context of digital platforms, fintechs, banks, because that's a bigger audience. Yeah.
So being a digital-only insurer, we had done multiple experiments, across a lot of lenders, lending all the lending cards of the world, fintechs like Paytm and PhonePe and so on and so forth, right? So there were experiments that were successful and scaled. There were experiments that we had to shut down, right? So so multiple things. So a few things stood out, for us in terms of doing that, right? So one is that wherever we have been able to, kind of quote unquote piggyback on the data that the fintech or the lender had about the customer, and hence we were able to, not really ask too many details to the customer, and then having just go through the journey, without having to go out of the Paytm or the PhonePe or whatever. That time it worked out really well. The moment there is a break in the journey, it's gone. Again, it's aspect of making sure that there is a frictionless journey for the customer. It has worked out very well. The moment you ask the customer more and more details about himself, the drop rate increases, right? That was one. Right? And second aspect, I think some of my partners talked about here is the contextualization, right? So contextualization, not just in terms of what the customer has come to the platform for, but also contextualization in terms of the time, right? For example, if he has taken a loan, right? Just about the time the loan is getting finished, right? If we can pitch a product, right? That is contextual to that. Realize that the guy now has cash probably, right? So pitch a product, it is more likely to go through than pitching the product when he's actually taking a loan, right? He really doesn't have money, so that's why he's taking a loan in the first place. What's the point of asking him more money, right? So contextualization, both in terms of the product, the ticket size of the product, as well as the time at which you are pitching, right? That has worked out extremely well, for us. So all the scaled experiments that worked out well had these two things in common. So can we piggyback understand the customer through the lender's lens and piggyback on the underwriting so that we don't have more details, ask more details, and contextualize in terms of time and the product.
Abhishek, over to you. Live examples that you love.
Actually, before the live examples, maybe a few learnings in terms of how to think about embedded. One learning has been, a lot of times we confuse embedded versus cross-sell. Let's say we are on a PhonePe app and where we are doing transaction and now it has built a different tab called buy insurance. That truly is not an embedded product. You're just trying to cross-sell. Versus, to me, true embedded is where you will get a 80%, 90% kind of attach rate, which Chris, you were saying, which is...
It can be 10 and be truly embedded, but potentially not fully potential.
Correct, correct. I think embedded truly is when there is some other service experience that you're part of, and insurance is one of the risk that is part of that service experience that you can underwrite and you can sell as part of that journey. And to me, when I look at embedded is, hey, if it's anything other than less than 80% kind of attach rate, that means it is not truly an embedded journey. It's just I'm trying to cross-sell some other product. The number two aspect of looking at embedded is, hey, is my platform able to add a lot more value in terms of identifying, pricing the risk, figuring out what product to sell because of the data that I have, and I think both of you touched upon that product. So when you're looking at embedded journey, make sure that there is something that you have that no one else has when you're trying to sell that product. Otherwise, your value addition is very minimal in that journey. Number three is, I firmly believe that in whatever journey all of you are building outside insurance, and if you're thinking of embedded insurance, there is definitely some risk that the user has, right? And the most common risk that we have talked about is the flight risk or the cab risk, the cab cancellation risk or missing the flight. But I think any service that we offer, there is some risk that we can imagine, and if you can imagine some risk, then there is some embedded insurance product that you can always build. I think there are always insurance carriers that are ready to underwrite the risk if you are able to provide them with data. So those are some 2-3 learnings that I've had when it comes to embedded insurance. I think in terms of the examples, I think those are the same examples that we have talked about, so I'm not spending time on that.
Great, Kulin, so your examples?
Yeah, I think, like Abhishek rightly said, when as fintechs, as banks, right, or as platforms, right, there's a lot of contextualization that needs to happen when you're trying to embed any kind of a product, leave aside insurance, right? One of the things that we've realized is that there are possibly just two things that normally platforms will look at, right? One is obviously risk mitigation, right? And another thing that we've seen is as a very good use case is driving user behavior, right? Creating milestones, right? Driving a certain outcome that you want. For example, we've recently embedded our Cyber Sure product, which includes, say, right from dark web monitoring to a digital scores, digital security score, and cyber insurance, like all bundled together, right, with DBS Bank for all their SME account debit card holders, right? Because there's a genuine risk out there.
And this is for free.
This is for free, right? It's bundled by DBS, right? It's bundled by DBS because they see this, right? And now I think the next step would be that, hey, you know what, when you will keep doing more transactions every month, we'll keep kind of, giving you this benefit and extending this benefit going on and on and on, like till perpetuity, right? And I think that's a great way to kind of drive a certain user behavior where you're trying to tell people that, hey, you know what, there is a genuine risk and we are helping you to kind of mitigate this, but only when you do a certain behavior, right? And that makes the whole value proposition so much more sustainable, right? One of the early examples that we had during the COVID days, right, was something that we created for a co-living, platform where we kind of provided our entire healthcare wellness along with COVID protection insurance, right, for a company called Zolo, right? Very contextual. You're coming in the COVID days to stay in a co-living kind of an environment, right? The first thing that you have in your mind is the risk that, hey, what's going to happen out here, right? And nothing was, like he said, right? Nothing was like, whether I can take it or not, right? It was bundled with the room, right? It's like, yes, you are coming to stay, you have it out here, right? And I think these are the kind of examples that, we can talk about. We have multiple, we've done, embedding with salary accounts. We've done, rewards program with folks like Poddar and so on and so forth, right? We've created actually programs, right, for partners like Tally for all their distributors. But yeah, I think that's where embedded comes in with all their might.
Great. We're right on time.
54 seconds left.
So, any questions from the audience for the panel?
If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll pass on the mic.
I wanted to touch upon AI. I think that was not covered. Anybody has anything to add on AI? How is it changing things?
Yeah, I can't speak for everyone, but like our utilization of AI has always been for pricing, more kind of last generate like machine learning, right? So in terms of LLMs, the focus on that is for claims, for automation, but there's a huge amount of data engineering and software engineering that has to get into a place before that's high value. But ultimately, AI is a cost out effort. It's interesting. It's not a recurring cost out either. It's not something that you need to continue to pay for. You make that one change, that rollout, and then you get the benefit. So it's interesting to see where the value is going to be made over the next couple of years for AI. Obviously, the big LLMs have the value at the moment, but utilizing them is different to those that sit in the middle and try and do things.
Can you please pass on the mic?
Hi guys, Chris, this one's for you, given that you have a global view, like from Australia, India, etc. So are there any interesting embedded use cases that we have seen, let's say in Southeast Asia predominantly, because that's also a club of 6-7 different kind of small countries, big countries, etc. But there are different use cases that we see there. So is there anything that we have seen on that part of the world which is not so much, let's say, seen otherwise?
So, Kulin had some good examples. Back to my earlier point, the stuff I see in India is more interesting than Southeast Asia, to be honest. Southeast Asia has done kind of warranty integrations reasonably well, but I think sometimes the value for the customer is overlooked, and that has been the case occasionally here as well. But, sometimes when you're achieving, 100% attach from an opt-in product, that's just really good product marketing, right? Or product management. But it's actually about the right product at the right time, for the right asset. And motor insurance is obviously an important thing. So that's a great example of execution. Southeast Asian, I don't know. There's some interesting things. I think of the early Grab, Chubb, Zhong'an effort. But it's generated 100 million customers, but it's still, there's opportunity to kind of add value and really build that relationship out. And so that's one interesting thing to watch because it's got good penetration.
I'm just going to add one product. I think one of the very successful products that has been in South Asia, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the return shipping product, right? Like Zong'an really killed it with the return shipping product. I think a lot of insurance companies or insurtechs in Singapore are really building towards that. I think Zong'an used to partner with Alibaba, and they used to see close to Taobao and everyone, and I think they used to see close to about 100 million policies on their version of the Big Billion Day. So
and the big reverse logistics companies like Mishu, etc., should be able to kind of execute a good program in a really highly optimized way. But yeah, India is really doing this well, like better than US. Europe is a bit staid, but there's been some good car manufacturer rollouts in the last couple of years that I've seen.
So this question is regarding the health side. So like in health insurance, we see that a lot of embedded things that we do in terms of wellness, in terms of preventive care, etc. So what are the best practices that we have seen at the global level? And AP and Kulin, you guys can answer. Like, where are we aiming to go in India?
Absolutely, I think India is taking its own journey compared to the globe. I think if you look at the US market is in a stress when it comes to health insurance in general. You'll probably spend 100 times of what you would spend in India to get a good health insurance. So I think that way, we have to build our own journey when it comes to just thinking about health insurance plus healthcare in India. We have to make sure that we don't go the same route of making mistakes that the US had made in the last 20, 30 years. Otherwise, the healthcare plus health insurance will just become very unaffordable for the kind of country that we are. In terms of some of the learnings of US to India, I think there are a lot of different insurance models that have existed in US, for example, where the insurance companies and the healthcare companies are the same company, which is then trying to optimize for better health outcomes and not just for improving or lowering your loss ratios as an insurance company, which is a model that never existed in India. So I think those are some of the models that are slowly coming up in India. There are a few companies that are experimenting with that. The way we think of embedding wellness or preventive and primary care into insurance is also one of those steps in the direction, which is, if I am able to maybe take 10% more, charge 10% more, but it can actually have an impact, better impact on the long-term health outcomes for you, I'm eventually saving more money in a longer time period as an insurance company, right? So that is also a way of building wellness or other kinds of healthcare within the insurance product with that outcome in the mind.
So just to add to that, just to add to his point that, for example, at Onsurity, we've kind of decoupled healthcare, wellness, and insurance, right? For example, we have only healthcare and wellness plans, right, which are then contextually embedded on loan platforms, right? Because not everyone wants to take insurance, right? And at the same time, you also have comprehensive products, right, which can be attached, right, on some of these platforms. So to your point, right, again, insurance is just a financial product, right? And there's a lot of friction in India market when it comes to insurance. But at the same time, globally, if you go to see as a US thing, right, our healthcare is still little less expensive than the amount of money that you need to spend out there. So you can actually decouple sometimes health, wellness, and insurance, and create their own embedding journey.
We would really like to take more questions, but we are pressed on time, so I would request you all to take the questions outside in the networking area. Right now, please give all of our panelists a huge round of applause. I would request you all to please come forward for a group photo, and thank you so much for such an informative session and for being so engaging. We are going to move on to the next session. The topic of discussion is going to be how we bring users closer to their credit limit discovery and utilizations. And